What's up, everybody? It is 4 o'clock, and that means we are live here on Everything Phoenix. And this is my favorite time of the day on a Tuesday. Hopefully, it is yours too. Thank you for joining me today. I'm wearing my Meta glasses. My wife asked me the other day, she said, "Hey, how come you don't wear your glasses?" I'm like, I don't know. I should because they're cool, right? Maybe not cool looking, but they're cool because I can record and watch you guys while you watch me. So we're both watching each other. Cool. All right, guys, we're going to talk about median home pricing and home pricing in general. What's the outlook for 2026 nationally and here with Phoenix? And where do we stand today? Are prices in Phoenix up? Are they flat? Or are they down? Now, the national media will have you believing for sure prices are down and everything's a bloodbath and you should just wait, and then wait some more. But should you? Maybe you should. I'm never someone who's going to tell you guys you should or should not do something because that is so specific to your situation. So before we go any further, I'm going to dive in here and show you a couple of really good articles that we're going to go over. But before we go any further, I'd like to know, where are you watching from? If you don't mind just putting your name in the chat or even asking a question, because if you're thinking it, somebody else is too. So where are you watching from? Let's have a conversation. We have some people on here live right now, and I really appreciate the time you take in watching this show, because we spend a lot of time curating the data to make sure it is action packed and not boring. Like, hey, here's the market update, blah, blah. You guys would leave and I would not blame you. So I'm going to try to talk fast. I do naturally anyway, and go quickly, not to spend all day long on this live, but we're going to jump in my, share my screen here real quick. And here is the first article from the Phoenix Business Journal I want to share with you guys. Normally we start with the Crawford report, because it has all the good data, right? But we're going to get there. Hold your horses. We're going to get there. But check this out. More homes will hit the market in 2026. Here's the pricing outlook. That's interesting. More homes will hit the market in 2026. So this article goes on to say a couple things that we won't do spoiler alerts completely here, but check this out, guys. Existing home sales will jump 14% in 26, despite prices rising 4%. Now, it didn't say existing home listings will jump 14%. It said home sales, despite prices rising 4%. What in the world? So this article goes on to cite several different sources. One of them is the National Association of Realtors, and they predict a 14% jump in existing home sales in 2026 from a combination of dropping mortgage rates and improving market stability after several years. So, guys, we all know the situation with the Federal Reserve, right? It's been controversial to say the least. Well, next year, Jerome Powell's contract is up. So he is gone. He will no longer be the Fed chair. And we all know the current president will wants rates to come down. And so I'm certain he's going to appoint somebody who's going to feel the same way. And that will help rates come down to at least some extent. But what will happen with home prices? Because right now, you heard the spoiler alert from the NAR, they think home prices are going to go up 4% in 2026. Do you believe that? Do you think that's the case? What do you think? And what's your data to support the fact that it may stay the same or go up? Affordability is a problem. It's the campaign. We saw the elections in the East Coast here with the governors and mayors and all that, right? Their main topic was affordability, and that's what they're talking about. Now, the problem is it's hard to find a solution. No one really has a good solution. We talked about a 50-year mortgage here last week on the show because the White House talked about a 50-year mortgage. Is that the answer? I don't know that it is. I don't think that it is. But nonetheless, that was a topic. But this article goes on to say that mortgage rates are projected to go down around in the low six percentile, if not at 6%. Maybe they will touch the fives, 5.9, something like that. No one knows. We'll see. I tend to believe that they will. I do. And I think when you hit a 5, you see a 5 in front of that first number, the psychological effect on that is huge. And therefore, it's going to get a little bit more of a population segment off the fence that's looking to buy. That's my personal belief. But check this out right here. This paragraph is wild. The NAR deputy chief economist said that today the median age of a home buyer is 59 years old. Did you hear that correctly? The median age of a home buyer currently is 59 years old. It goes on to say that the median age of a repeat buyer is 62 years old, far older than in the past. And at the same time, the share of the first-time home buyers hit an all-time low at 21%, and the median first-time buyer age is 40. Guys, 40 years old is the median first-time home buyer right now in today's market. That is crazy town. You would think it'd be like 25, 26. No, it is not. The biggest struggle is the affordability of a property, is this article goes on to say. Now, Zillow, on the other hand, they project home prices to actually go up 1.9% in 2026. Okay. So everyone's expecting home prices to go up. No one's saying right now they're going to go down in terms of the smart, people right out there, whoever they may be. But you can see right now the the median home price in America is $410,000. It was up to $437,700 in 2022, but just in 2020, just 5 years ago, it was at $317,000. You're talking a almost $100,000 increase from where we stood from a median home price just 5 years ago. That's pretty wild. At least it's down from where it was at 437 just 3 years ago. Okay. That's how fast it went up in just 2 years. Because primarily why? Interest rates were too low. The Fed should have raised the rates and stepped them up to curtail some of the demand so it didn't just go gangbusters all at once. You guys remember 2022. You know what happened. It is wild. Okay. Now, this article goes on to say that Redfin did a study, and they found that the relative home affordability could return to a state of normality by 2030 if mortgage rates drop to about 5.5% and price growth stabilized instead of continuing to rise. Now, stabilized could mean something very small, 1%, 2% of an increase, which actually would be nice, 3%, not the crazy 20% in 1 year. We don't need that at this time. That is for sure. But this last paragraph's pretty interesting. Meanwhile, Americans ages 35 to 54 saw a decline in home ownership, with their share dropping from 42.3 to 34% from 08 to 23. Baby boomers specifically, who were the ages or between the ages of 60 and 78 in 2024, account for 20% of the population, but make up more than 37% of homeowners nationwide, even though they only account for 20% of the population. So what is going on, guys? Is it just simply affordability? I think it is. I think we all know that right now people are two things. The payment might be high, and they don't really want to sacrifice to move into a area or a neighborhood of town that they really don't want to be in for a short-term sacrifice to hopefully build equity and start getting in the game. But I would submit to you today that that's something that you, if that's you, or maybe you have the ability to advise someone in that situation, I think you should advise them to get in the game and to consider it if, again, their situation is stable, their job situation is stable. They're not looking to or potentially contingent upon having to move due to something that's outside their control. And here's why. Look at this article. This article by Realtor.com is wild. And to me, if this doesn't convince you, I don't know what will. Probably nothing. And that's fine. That's your prerogative. That's your choice. But I think you should take a look at this article. This article by Realtor.com says, the homeowner right here, homeowners are 43 times wealthier than renters. Let me repeat that. Homeowners are 43 times wealthier than renters. What are those numbers? Well, I'm glad you asked. Okay. Homeownership remains a reliable wealth builder, and it's widening the net worth gap between owners and renters, even in uncertain economic times. The typical U.S. homeowner, here you go, currently has a net worth of $430,000. Okay, we're talking one home, guys. According to the most recent Federal Reserve survey of consumer finance, in comparison, the net worth of an average renter is just $10,000. Guys, come on. Simply put, the average homeowner is 43 times wealthier than the typical renter. This is incredible. Now look at this. Look at the gain in this graph over the last 6 years approximately. Again, how do you refute this data, guys? Again, I know you may not be able to afford a property where you semi want to be in the neighborhood you want to be, but maybe you have to move to a different city. Maybe you have to sacrifice, move and house hack, move into buy a duplex and rent the other side out. Maybe you have to live in a house in a certain part of the city that you have to rent out the other 2 rooms, other 3 rooms, whatever it may be, to people you don't know. And maybe that makes you a little uncomfortable. I get it. I'm not saying any things are ideal, nor am I saying that you should do any of these. But the reality is, guys, that these numbers are irrefutable. You're talking the increase from '09 from a renter's net worth of 7,300 or 19, excuse me, to 10.4 to $10,000 actually went down between 22 and 25. That is wild. Meanwhile, the average net worth of a homeowner went from 295.5 to 396 to $430,000. What do you think about this? Do you guys think that's a bunch of baloney? Do you think it's good data and okay, maybe we'll get around to it one day? How important is this? I guess of building your net worth and having appreciation or equity, I should say, in a house to be able to trade in for a better house at some point in the future. If it's not that important to you, then I get it. I know there are some people out there that will swear that renting is the way to go, and if that's your belief. I don't that's your opinion. That's great. I don't agree with it, but tell me why. Convince me why you should be a lifelong renter and not ever own a home, especially after seeing these numbers right here, because these are wild numbers of the average net worth of an American owning at least one home. Okay, so that is that. Now let's talk about rates right now. Where are mortgage rates? Well, you can see right now they're at 6.38%. So they have gone back up just a little bit from where they were just a week or two ago. But 6.3% is still pretty good overall compared to where they've been traditionally. You can see the graph over the last couple of years. And you can see the 15-year fix currently is at 5.86% with the adjustable ARM at 6.04%, guys. So did you know that right now, a lot of people are choosing, electing to go with the ARM, the adjustable rate, especially if it's 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, because they believe strongly that rates will come down within that time frame before it adjusts. And even if it does adjust, it won't go much higher than where it currently sits. So they are hedging that risk in that situation. So that's something that you need to talk to an advisor about, maybe a mortgage broker or myself. I'd love to chat with you about the pros and cons of an adjustable rate mortgage. I had one myself. I since have moved out of it, but I've had one and it worked out great for the 3 years that I chose to have it. John Doe, thanks for watching. Remember in 2022, and all the real estate experts, I feel it coming, said there was going to be a 6 rate cut next year and the prices will surge again. Then they kept saying that for the past 3 years, yet prices went down. Okay. All right. Now, are you talking on a macro level or a micro level, John? Because I'll share your screen and let's talk about prices. Now, if you're talking from 22 to 23, 24, you are correct, sir. Prices did go down because they peaked when? Summer of 2022. And if you don't believe me, let's look at this graph because John Doe is on to something here when let's talk about, here we go. Monthly median sales prices. Here you go, guys. They peaked May of 2022. Now we're talking Phoenix here. Nationally, I could pull up that data as well. It's going to be somewhat similar, but Phoenix is what the show is about. So we're talking Phoenix real estate. Here you go. Median monthly sales price. Okay. 480 in May of 22. And then they went down to 415 in December 22. It all went down in 1 year. But what has happened since then, John? From December 22 till now, we're talking 415, December 22 till today, which is 454. Now, my math is going to be a little off probably, but we're talking, what is that? $40,000? Yep. 415 to 454. That's about $40,000 of equity that you could have, that I could have, that we all could have if we chose to dive in and buy a house in December of 2022. Now, I hear what you're saying, John, because you're talking about, the people saying, just marry the house and date the rate. That was the dumbest thing people probably could have said. That's stupid. That's not what I was screaming. I can promise you that. But there were experts, real estate experts, that were saying that thing. However, the reality is that prices have not dropped since December of 2022 in Phoenix. Okay. And then, John, that's luxury home sales artificially pushing the median home price. No, I disagree with you. I disagree with you wholeheartedly. And again, because of data, let's go back to the chart. Okay. Because the median is not the average. You want to go to average? Here we go. Let's talk about average. Average, the luxury home market for sure is doing this. But let's go back to median, because what this does is shows the sample size. Let's go to a full month of October. Look at the sample size there, guys. The sample size is 5,609 homes. Now, if you're going to sit there and tell me that the luxury home market accounted for half of those sales, you would be mistaken. That is incorrect. So that is not the luxury home median, luxury market inflating this number. That is the market in whole, because the median is the middle number of the entire sample size. And there's 5,600 homes sales to talk about with the sample size. Then you go here for the whole month of August, 5,400 on the sample size, 5,700 on the sample size. Now let's go back where it was when it's really low, 4,800. There were less numbers on the sample size, but yet we'll believe that number at 415 because it feels like that's where it should be. But we have a hard time believing this number when the sample size for the full month of October was larger. Come on, guys, you can't have it both ways. I'm giving you the data right here. You don't have to believe it, but this is the data. Guys, listen, I get it. Emotion will tell you that prices are crashing down and they've come down, and we should be waiting. And maybe you should. It's your prerogative. But I'm telling you that at some point, could be 2 years, 5 years from now, at some point, the market will curtail back up and start to be a bull market for a period of time, because that's what market cycles do. They are repeatable. They are cyclical in nature. And so we need to have a down market at some point. And is this graph showing a down market for a cycle? No, that cycle is really quick. So I would not say it's a cycle. So at some point, this has to correct. I'm with you on that, John. Anyone else who's saying that's the case. But right now, supply and demand rules, and that's what we're looking at. Okay. Rick Helps, another eight. I know Rick, yeah, cites that statistic of home prices AZ between 300 and 600 are down 15% since 2022. Do you dispute that statistic? Well, I have to watch Rick's video, and I can pull this. I'll make you a bet, John. I'll pull that data of different, because the chart's in here. I just got to find it and dig through it. I'll pull that chart next Tuesday at 4 p.m. on this channel. Okay, I'll pull that chart when it comes to those segments of price points on the median home side, because 300 to 600K is a story of one price segment. What about 600 to 800, or 800 to $1 million, or 0 to 300, or 400 to 500 within this segment? Okay, so we'll pull that and we'll have some fun with that, and I'll spend a good solid 5-10 minutes on this alone, because I think I'm not arguing with you necessarily here, John. I do think that matters. The price bands, if you will, matter in terms of the whole story. But overall, the median is going to be the most accurate prediction of where prices stand for a major sample size. And this is where they are. They in fact went up. Now, on the average price point, you could sit there and go, they went up too, right? This one, I'll give it to you 100%. Average is going to be skewed fairly big time by the luxury home sales. I get that. And they went up. And they're back up to 605, where they were about the same November, earlier here. Okay. All right. Or April, excuse me, not April, November, April. Okay. So earlier this year. So, and then obviously you see what has happened since February of 18, guys. Look at this. Okay. It's gone up. I don't care if you bought a $300,000 house or you bought a $3 million house, the price has gone up. I think we all can see that, and we all know that. That's not shocking. But the median home sales price is interesting, because I'll show a couple of graphs here as well. Let's go to the quarterly. The quarterly median home sales price has not gone down. That's quarterly. We're taking different segments of time, windows of time, right? It has gone down since Q1, 100%. Went down to 450 in Q2, but since Q2, it stayed fairly flat, right? Then let's go to the annual median sales price. That has remained flat as well from the same range in 2024. Pretty flat. It's actually gone up $648, to be honest. Okay. And then let's go to annual change in monthly. You can see right here, 1.1% from last year on the median from where we were in December of 2004. Okay. All right, John, I love this. Here we go. The gap between rents and ownership has never bigger, and rents are also going down in most areas. Does this put added downward pressure on home prices? The gap, yeah, I think it does. I 100% does. And I think as long as rates stay where they are, that's a problem. I totally agree with you. Rents are going down a little bit. I can pull that for you too as well. Rents are going down a little bit, but not a whole lot. And I know from being boots on the ground as well as pulling from the conference report, I own quite a few rental properties, so I can tell you that it's not the same as it was just a couple of years ago when I had a house renting at this number every single year. It doesn't do the same. It doesn't perform the same, because you have more supply on the market right now because of where the economy currently is. So that's a good point. So it is a problem, but the factor that goes back to affordability on this, John, right? And if the rates stay where they are over the next 6 months, 12 months, yeah, you're going to see prices come down. I firmly believe that, but that's the wild card that I think, based upon, again, Jerome Powell's exiting, et cetera, et cetera. I think you're going to see rates actually come down a little bit further. Not crazy, 6%, 5.9, but it's going to come down, and that will change the question on the affordability aspect, because I have several videos on here that I talk about when it comes to the affordability aspect and what the buying power does for just a half point change in interest rate at certain price points. It's fairly significant. Okay, and it can change your monthly payment significantly. Okay, so let's go back to. By the way, if anyone else wants to comment on this, please do so. John makes a good point, but they're not in a vacuum, right? Just like what I'm saying is not in a vacuum either. They will change from week to week potentially, but definitely from quarter to quarter, but possibly week to week. Okay, let's go back here and go into a couple more. This is actually a very good article. This is good for Phoenix. Okay, which makes Phoenix a little more attractive than other places across America when it comes to housing prices. The local economy matters too, not just interest rates. Okay. Arizona moves up in tax competitiveness index despite sales tax ranking near the bottom. What are those? Well, let's check it out. The Grand Canyon State, Arizona, came in at number 14 nationally, up one spot from 15 when it comes to overall state competitiveness index. There you go. Index. All right. It looks at more than 150 variables to come up with this number. And it ranked in top 10 for both individual income taxes and property taxes alike. Okay. Corporate taxes weren't that far behind, number 13 in the country. Arizona's flat individual income tax rate, 2.5%, is the lowest in the country, which is really cool for a state that charges an income tax. Obviously, there's some states that don't, and you can't compete with 0%, but that's pretty good, guys. 2.5% flat tax is number 9 in the nation. Property taxes come in at number 10. Okay, so that's really good. And now what's not as good is the sales tax coming in at 45. Arizona ranks 45 in the entire country for sales tax. So if you want a reason to move to Arizona, this is a good one because it keeps more money in your pocket. All right, companies, this is good too because, guys, when you live in a city, you want to know what the traffic commute is like, right? What's the traffic time like? Well, companies are requiring more time in the office. Here's how it's affecting Phoenix area commutes. All right, this is interesting. Here we go. According to the recent analysis of American Community Survey data, they are saying that they looked at the nation's 100 largest metro areas, and the average commute nationally, did you know this, was 21 minutes and 96, or I should say 21.96 minutes, okay? That is up from 21.84 minutes in 23, but down from where it was in 19 at 22.05 minutes. So the average, 21 and some change on the minutes, okay? In the Valley, the largest portion of Valley workers, some 16.1% reported commute times between 20 and 24 minutes, while the second largest portion fell in the range of 30 to 34 minutes. So how much time do you spend on the road when you go to work? I'd love to know that. How much time do you spend on your commute? Do you know going there one way or round trip? Let me know. I would love to know that. But where are the most, you can probably imagine that the longest commutes are going to be in the places with the highest real estate prices, believe it or not. Okay, because it comes back to what? Supply and demand. Wichita, Kansas comes in at a low commute. Toledo, Ohio, and Syracuse, New York, all less than 10 minutes. Then you have the highest one being New York City, weird, at 35 minutes, Washington, D.C. at 31, and San Francisco at 31 as well. Okay, so the shortest commutes, we talked about those. Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Dayton, Ohio. These places are great if you don't like to commute to work. Good places to move, but Phoenix, not too bad at 21 minutes ish, right around the national average. Okay, and then there's another insurance crisis hitting businesses. This is interesting to talk about. It could cost millions. And what are they? Well, insurance, guys. Concerns about a lack of insurance when it comes to the business sector. So if you own a commercial building, you're concerned about insurance. If you have, like, I own my own commercial building here, guys, and let me tell you, I pay my insurance through the HOA dues. And what have they done over the past couple of years? Gone up because they pay the insurance through the HOA dues for the business park that I own in, and it's not going down. So this is a real thing happening across America for insurance costs, and Phoenix is not exempt from that. Now, going back to what John and I were talking about, in a way, okay, let's talk about this article here. This is an interesting one. Should you rent or buy a home? Here's how to decide. According to Yahoo Finance, they're talking about renting a home that can be expensive, but we know that rents have flatlined for the last several years in Phoenix, and they've kind of gone down and up, but flatlined altogether. With both rent and home prices causing sticker shock, which is the better choice? Well, what do you think? Which do you prefer? That's number one. Rent or buy? 4 questions to ask yourself. Okay. And do you have a strong financial history? So these are common sense stuff, guys. Can you afford the hidden costs of owning a home? That's a big one. By the way, guys, here's a little hack for owning a house. I believe in strongly. Some of you guys are going to crucify me for this, but that's okay. Home warranties. I'm telling you guys, some home warranties are really, really bad. In fact, most are really bad. Even the one I would recommend is not the greatest at times, which is, by the way, Old Republic. But I would go with a home warranty with Old Republic because I have a rep here locally. So that if you actually go through us when you purchase a house, you can actually have access to our local rep. And let me tell you something. Having a local rep, a human being, makes all the difference in the world. Guys, I replaced an air conditioner on one of my rental houses just a little while ago, and the cost was about just under $10,000 for this unit. It was on a roof at a rental house, okay, in Phoenix here. I asked the guy, I said, look, I paid $175, trade call fee plus one little modification, okay? I asked him, I said, hey, what would that cost if you guys did it yourself? And he says, like $9,600. Okay, so if you do the math, carry the one, that's going to pay for itself for that house on the monthly fees of carrying that home warranty for, like, I don't know what it is. It's a lot of years. I did the math like 3 months ago. Can't remember what it is, but it's a lot of years. So if you do something like that, that's pretty cool. Now, some of you guys will say, home warranties are a joke, and you can make that argument in many cases. I get it, right? I totally get it. But that's called gap insurance, risk management. Okay. And if you own a house, that's something you might want to consider doing. It's an extra expense on the monthly. I get it. But when they cover something, it's nice, especially if it's a big ticket item like an air conditioner, because that will pay for itself for many, many, many years to come. Okay. But things like property taxes, we talked about that, guys, right? And again, Phoenix is, I think, ranked number 13 in the entire country when it comes to property taxes. So that is a very good thing. They have low property taxes. It means more money in your pocket. Okay. Less cost. And of course, HOA dues. A lot of Phoenix homes are in HOA communities. So here's a little calculator they put in here that you can see what you can afford. Guys, you can go. It's a great calculator, by the way. I would highly recommend this one and other ones too that you can just simply Google. Could you benefit from homeowners tax deductions? That's a big one. People don't talk about the tax benefits of owning a house enough, in my humble opinion. And when you all of a sudden sell the house and you rent for a couple of years, you start realizing when you file your taxes, the difference of what you were saving. And sometimes it can be fairly significant, right? Do you plan to live in a home for at least a few years? Which is a better fit? Again, here's some FAQs. And what is the 5% rule for rent versus buy? It's a guideline, guys, that you can read about at a later time. Do billionaires buy or rent? Everyone is different, and maybe a billionaire does choose to rent from time to time for a specific reason, just like that's how you should choose. Talk to an advisor, get some wise counsel, and make your decision from that standpoint. But there is no shame in renting, guys. I can promise you that it is awesome for a time and a place. I'm a landlord myself. I provide housing for people, and I'm glad there's a market for renting, because otherwise I would have no one to rent the houses I purchase as investment properties. So that is a very good thing, but I would highly recommend to consider purchasing and getting in the game so that your net worth can grow over time. Okay. Last but not least, I'm going to share with you a couple different statistics from the active listings. Okay. On the Comfort Report, you can see the active listings, where we're at when it comes to supply and demand, because that's what drives everything. Active listings right here, 22,732 on this chart. You can see where we are at this time for the last 3 years prior. We were not this high. Supply is higher. Demand is fairly flat, although it has increased somewhat the last several weeks. We are noticing that with like the properties that we are marketing. We're getting more showings. We are putting some houses under contract. And so that is a very positive thing for the marketplace. But there's no doubt that supply is up at this time. And it usually is, and it starts to curtail as we go towards the end of the year, because why? People don't want to put their house on the market during the holidays. But let me tell you a little secret, guys. I'm telling you right now, putting your home on the market this time of year, if it's ready to go, is sometimes a very good idea because you have less competition, but the buyers that are out there, and believe me, there are buyers out there. I mean, 4,000 plus homes will sell every December, no matter if it's, snow, not snow, not the desert, but sleet, rain, or shine, those saying. And so it's not a bad idea to do if your house is ready to go. We have stats on all of that. In fact, one of the big things that we do, because Thanksgiving weekend is actually a pretty good weekend for demand, is we have a Black Friday promotion that we run where we actually have coupons that we issue if they are redeemed by that Sunday before Thanksgiving weekend is up. Is a Black Friday special. Someone can actually cash in when buying that house. Just another marketing way to get people off the fence if they're considering look at buying your house because they're watching it online. We can see that. We see the analytics on the back end, but will it help them get off the fence? Sometimes it does. It's a pretty cool promotion. So those are the things that we do when we're marketing a house for our clients. Last but not least, here's the active listings map. I'm going to show you this, guys. You can see where all the listings are located throughout the Phoenix area, and you can see by color where the more expensive homes lie geographically. So you have Scottsdale PB right here with all this dark red, because that's, the 700K to 1 million or over 1 million right here. And then you have Scottsdale up in here, which stays pretty red. And then you get over to the West Valley where it starts to get a little bit cheaper, as you can see. But there are some expensive homes out here in the West Valley as well as the East Valley. Just depends on what part of town you're in. So there's a lot to choose from. And if you hover your mouse, you can see all kinds of fun things where it gives us the data of every single listing plotted on the map. If you guys would ever like any data like this that I provide, shoot me an email, give me a call or a text at the number below, and I will get you the data you need to make an informed decision when it comes to anything you're doing real estate wise, guys. And by the way, I realized I wouldn't share my screen. There's a heat map right there, or the active listings of all the maps, different areas across the valley. So cool. All right, guys, we are out of time. I appreciate you joining us today. Next Thursday is going to be a pre-Thanksgiving show. I'm going to break down the segments of the pricing and the transaction counts that John was talking about, all across from 300,000 or even lower up to the millions. So we can figure out what's actually causing the median home price to go up or down or stay flat. Cool. All right. Stay tuned for that next Tuesday right here on Everything Phoenix YouTube Live. Comment below. Let us know if I'm on something or I'm not, or I'm crazy, or maybe John's dead on, or maybe John's off his rocker just like I am. I don't know. All right, guys. Until next Tuesday, keep it classy, Phoenix. We'll see you then.